All eyes were on Nigel Farage last night when he had to field the inevitable question on Brexit. Fred Siriex, the celebrity chef, confronted Nigel about his campaign to leave the European Union. Let's have a listen.
The thing is the intolerance that came because Brexit was about immigration. And I remember your poster.
Yeah,
which I thought it was shameful what you did, Nigel.
Sadly, it was absolutely true.
What was the poster, sorry? Can I just cut in? Can you educate us a little bit more?
It was a poster just showing mass young men moving illegally across borders.
But it was about demonising migrants.
And saying that was wrong.
No, it wasn't. Maybe in your view it was, but it wasn't.
But it's not only just my view.
Well, we expected that rumble in the jungle, and join me now for another rumble is former MEP and Deputy Leader of the Reform UK Party, Ben Habib, and political commentator Matthew Stadlen. Ben, let's start with you. French Fred said it was a shameful poster, and that echoed the sentiments of George Osborne, who called it disgusting and vile. What's your opinion?
Well, I thought it was a very low-brow debate on immigration that took place for the few minutes that Nigel, had that chat with Fred, the chef. And, when you think about it, if you were to reflect on it for more than the few moments they debated it, freedom of movement essentially was in itself a sort of racist freedom of movement because it was opened up principally to the white population of Europe. What we've now got is a United Kingdom that is world-facing, not just European Union-facing. And as we've seen, in many respects, to our great disappointment, huge immigration from the rest of the world. So Brexit was definitely not about racism. It certainly wasn't about racism or xenophobia as far as I'm concerned. I'm half Pakistani. That wasn't the issue. Brexit for me, and I think for the vast majority of the people in this country, was a vote to take back control of the United Kingdom from the European Union and to join the ranks of 168 other countries in the world that are not members of the EU. There are 195 countries in the world, 168 are not members of the EU. The default position is not to be a member of the EU. So I thought it was a very low caliber debate, and Nigel would have been underwhelmed by the quality of the arguments being made. But, there we are. I think Nigel would have knocked him for 6 in any other formal.
OK, let's cross to Matthew Stadlen now. Matthew, specifically about that breaking point poster, which Nigel said transformed politics. It was, however, compared to Nazi propaganda and called the politics of the gutter by Caroline Lucas. What's your position on it?
I think, first of all, we need to be absolutely clear, because it's incredibly antagonising, Martin, to Brexiteers when you suggest that they're all racist. I suspect millions and millions of people who voted Brexit are not racist at all. And there were some perfectly respectable reasons, I think, for voting to leave the European Union. I'm someone who voted Remain, but I had plenty of respect, including for some family members and close friends who chose to vote for Brexit. That poster, however, I think did undoubtedly signal to racists. It was divisive. It was xenophobic. Everyone, or almost everyone in that poster was a person of colour. And whatever Nigel's intentions were at the time, and I can't get inside his mind, I think it did appeal to racism.
Well, the fact of the matter is, though, Ben Habib, throw this to you, that was a photograph of actual migrants crossing the Croatia-Slovenia border in 2015. It's a factually representative photograph of a situation Nigel was trying to highlight, and that was uncontrolled immigration into countries can tear them apart. That's the point he was trying to make, and maybe with the benefit of hindsight, he had a point.
Well, first of all, thank you, Matt, for recognising that the vast majority of people who voted Brexit are probably not racist. But to put yourself in the context of that poster, it was just after Angela Merkel had thrown open the doors to 1 million migrants coming into Germany, do you remember? And there was a real concern, a legitimate concern, a concern to this day in many respects about unbridled immigration from cultures and from backgrounds which are very different to our own culture and background, and in many respects maybe antipathetic or contemptuous of our values and our culture and so on. And so whilst the imagery may be quite evocative and may have been offensive to some people, at the time it was probably accurate. And what we've seen, sadly, is even though we've taken control of our borders, we haven't stopped illegal migration as we should have done, and we haven't got control of migration. In fact, it's completely out of control. So Brexit, as it happens, turns out not to have been about migration, because the controls that we got back, we haven't used to control it. And I think Nigel's biggest concern at the moment is, what the devil is going on in Westminster with the powers that it's got, not taking advantage of the ability to actually reduce migration, champion jobs for British people, champion housing for British people, allow our public services to serve British people, rather than the entire country being burdened by this, incoming demand from millions of immigrants. It literally is millions.
Matthew.
I think you can have a sensible, grown-up, responsible conversation about immigration without indulging in dog whistles, without trying to reach for the lowest common denominator. I think it was very telling during that Brexit campaign that some of those who were campaigning for Brexit very clearly distanced themselves, if my memory serves, from that poster. Let's have a conversation about immigration. Let's try to get on top of illegal immigration. Let's have clear legal paths for people who are desperate and in desperate need to get to this country. Let's have an immigration system that actually functions after 13 years of Conservative government. Let's make sure that we can process these claims quickly and speedily and in a humane manner. Let's also remember that we have had a desperate need for immigration, and let's do everything we can to make sure that those people who have immigrated to this country or who have sought asylum in this country do not feel as though xenophobic forces are against them.
Matthew Stadlen, we have to leave it there. And Ben Habib, thanks for joining us for another Rumble, this time not, though, in the jungle. Thank you very much.